Hello, Simsir. This is my feedback to your summary from last week. So let's begin. Okay, you mentioned the title. The name of the speaker argues that, good, it is important to distinguish the difference. Okay, very good. So you've tried to make this very descriptive video. You've tried to force that into an argument. So that's good. Very good first sentence. Innovation is a keyword when we are talking about various processes of change. And he mentions that innovation is a way to transform new ideas and knowledge into economic benefits. Sure, I would just skip this. It just sounds a little bit vague. We're talking about various processes of change. Yeah, I'm not very sure. You can just say Archibugge starts out by defining the term innovation as a way to transform new ideas into economic benefit. There we go. Right? More focused, less vague. So here we don't really need this. So overall the first sentence can be more focused. Just drop this. And you can mention the speaker, Now, if you delete this, you could say he, because it's kind of close to Archibugge. But if you decide to include a phrase like this one, something about innovation is an important concept in our society, something like that, then the he kind of gets very far. And then you probably want to say Archibugge again. You want to repeat the name. Okay. Furthermore, based on comparisons between some examples, very nice, the speaker lists the differences. Okay, that's a very good one. So he does, that's most of the lecture, right? He does use examples, just those pictures. But you've done a good job of not really mentioning them as examples, but you've privileged the supporting idea that they demonstrate. And the supporting idea is that he needs to list those differences. Okay, good. An invention is a new idea, scientific or technological development, which has not been implemented. Sure, he does use this word. If you want to use your own word, you could just say which has not been commercialized and is not widely available on the market, something like that. So you don't repeat his phrasing. For innovation, here, I'm not sure. You mean in the case of innovation or not sure? The preposition doesn't work here really. And then for innovation, comma, is the conversion. Yeah, you cannot, I'm not getting this. Okay, just say, on the other hand, innovation is, right? On the other hand, innovation is the conversion of an invention into a new product or process. And it is a commercial or social development. Okay, this is clear enough. I would just encourage you to express it a little bit more simply, not with so many words. So make it just a bit more concise. Okay? You've used some good academic language here, but try to be a little bit more concise. Because if the video is very rich in supporting ideas, which this is not, this video is just about description and demonstration, but if it was a video with lots of ideas, you would actually need concise phrasing in order to fit everything within 200 words. Okay? So try to practice a little bit more concise phrasing. And here, to say, on the other hand, innovation is, because this just is not grammatical, it just doesn't work. Okay, so rephrase. But the idea is very clear, and you have chosen a good idea to represent in this summary, because that's an important distinction. Also, it is worth mentioning that not all innovations are based on inventions, and not all inventions will turn. Okay, very good. And here you've kind of used your own phrasing, very nice. You can say will become, right? I think the word he used was transform. So good job, you tried to paraphrase. I think become is better. Turn into is a little bit more magical. You know, when one thing turns into another, it's like the story of, I don't know, any fairy tale. All of a sudden, the pumpkin turns into a carriage, you know? It's kind of like a magical trick. But you can use it here as well. No problem. Good cohesive device. You tend to use shorter cohesive devices, single words. On one occasion you've done this, which is very good, according to the speaker's explanation. One. But mostly you tend to use one word cohesive devices, except here also. In academic language, these words furthermore, additionally, however, finally, they are used, but less often. You will see a lot more those kinds of cohesive devices, more extended. Based on an institutional point of view, that is an excellent way of linking the two thoughts. You know, that's exactly how you need to try and force yourself to not simply use a single word which does not say much. This says a lot based on an institutional point of view. See, try in your next summary if you can, but again, try to be concise. Just this many words is enough, and link those different ideas with more sophisticated linking devices. Also, it is worth, okay, based on an institutional point of view, he mentions that innovative products and processes can be adopted. Okay, good. According to the speaker's explanation, innovation is the most complex economic and social phenomenon. Why is this capitalized? I'm not sure. And if there are two identical innovations, one of them may be an imitation. Yeah, but why? How are these linked? I mean, okay, it's a complex phenomenon, sure, but then how is that linked to the next thought? I know what you're trying to say because I've seen the video, but somebody who hasn't seen the video, I'm not very sure that they would understand the link between those two ideas. I would just drop this because really, I mean, the phrasing is very nice here. So, but what is the supporting idea? What is it contributing to your summary? I'm not very sure. What he's trying to say is that innovation, each innovation is unique, right? As a product, each innovation is unique. And there are no two identical innovations, right? The minute you see two identical products, one of them is an imitation or a copy of the other one. So the definition of innovation is a unique product which has unique features, even if it may be similar to another product. But it has at least one different functionality or feature. So if you want to describe that, that will contribute a lot to your summary. But here when you just say innovation is a complex economic phenomenon, that doesn't really add much. You see? Although the phrasing is nice. So if you can find a way to be concise and mention that innovation usually is a unique product with unique features and no two innovations are the same, if you can find a way to phrase that, that will be more clear. Okay, so here I'm just going to say rephrase, but what I'm trying to say is add a supporting idea that brings value to this summary, particularly the first part. The second part is good. There are no two identical innovations, right? Okay. Yeah, so say something about unique features or characteristics or a unique functionality, and then it will make sense to say that no two identical innovations. There are no two identical innovations. Okay. The scientific and technological value of innovation does not correspond to its economic value. And the impact innovation is always uncertain. Sure. Here you probably want a cohesive device, right? Maybe the name of the speaker you can include. Archibugi also claims that, or whatever. Another important characteristic mentioned by Archibugi is that blah blah. Now here, these are good ideas, both of them. This is one supporting idea that I think he was talking actually about invention here. If I remember correctly, he was talking about how invention, maybe he was also talking about innovation. I just don't recall exactly. But whatever it is, this is one supporting idea, which is good. And the impact is uncertain. That's another supporting idea. If you reduce the phrasing in this whole thing here, right, you will actually have enough space to separate those two and explain a little bit more. Because this, the way you've put it, is very good. But again, for somebody who hasn't seen the video, what does it mean to say that it doesn't correspond to its economic value, right? Does it mean that it does not always bring economic profit? It can be a great invention or innovation, but it doesn't necessarily mean that its commercial value will be equivalent to its to its technological value or whatever. So to its if you say technological value, that's a very good phrase. So you can explain this a little bit more, and also here. And the impact of an innovation is always uncertain. Again, here, what is this impact, right? He was talking about how it's kind of unpredictable, and he gave the example of the pen. And by the way, you did a very good job in this summary to stay away from examples, because that's what we do in the summary. Very good. But if you want to devote a separate sentence to this, to each of those two, because these are two different supporting ideas, I think that would be a good choice for the summary. So explain a little bit more, each of those. The impact is always uncertain. He did end with that thought. It was a very kind of interesting ending. He kind of pulled this pen out of his pocket almost like magic, and he said, look, initially, when this was just an invention, nobody cared about it. The patent was turned down. Nobody could even think in their wildest dreams that the pen would have such an enormous impact. But once it became an innovation, look, everybody's using a pen now. So if you want to end with that, that was his final thought, you could say that as well. It's a kind of a paradoxical idea that he concluded with. He said, what was seemingly an insignificant product started out as an invention. It was seemingly insignificant, but then when it became an innovation, it had an enormous impact. And this kind of development, this kind of impact is often unpredictable. So it could say something like that. Kind of a paradoxical thought. It seemed like totally insignificant, but look, now it has enormous value. Okay? So both of these, I would say, expand a little bit. These are two supporting ideas. Very important supporting ideas. So you did a good job to include both of them. Finally, he concludes that some inventions do not require much technology, may eventually bring more use value. Sure. And he did talk about the pen. I would say the final idea was that paradox. Look at the pen. When it was an invention, it was seemingly insignificant, seemingly of less value, but when it became an innovation, it had this unpredictably large economic impact or social impact. But you have actually, if you decide to conclude in this way, you can, no problem. So overall, as usual, Sincere, this is a good summary, very well structured. We've included everything. Cohesive devices. I would just say work on the phrasing a little bit. Just be more concise. A little bit. But overall, very good work, as always.